Good afternoon. Emergency crews are scouring the shores of Lake Ontario in Scarborough, searching for a missing jet skier.
The man in his 20s fell off the watercraft near Bluffers Park last night and has not been seen since. CTV's Jon Musselman has been following the investigation and joins us live with more. John.
Well, Nathan, I can tell you the search continues at this hour. The Toronto Police Marine Unit is out on the water, as well as the Coast Guard. We'll show you some video here. The search began last night and continued at daybreak. Here's the information we have so far, that a man in his 20s and a woman were on a jet ski, a rented jet ski. They got into trouble last night just after 9 o'clock when apparently police say they hit a wave. Both fell off the jet ski. The woman was wearing a life jacket. The male operator of the jet ski was not. He has not been seen since. Now, that woman was able to climb back onto the jet ski. A second jet ski in the area was able to come by and help her get to shore. But the man who was operating the jet ski that hit the wave still has not been located. Now, police and the Coast Guard have been going up and down the shoreline here at Bluffers Park. They'll have to factor in currents, the wind. It's really a huge search area in the water. We did have a chance to speak to Toronto Police on an update this morning. Here's what they had to say.
It's hard to say, but I can't really say right now. This search has been going on since 9:15 last night, so it would be hard to fathom any person finding alive at this point right now. But I can safely say at this point right now we can sort of establish a mobile recovery for the options right now.
So at this point, it appears to be a recovery operation trying to locate this missing man. We do know the family is nearby in a parking lot. They've been updated by police about what's happening here. Obviously, they're devastated by this situation. We'll stay on this story as they continue this search at Bluffers Park. Reporting live, I'm Jon Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. 2 people are recovering in hospital following a stabbing on board a streetcar.
It happened in Little Italy shortly before 8:30 a.m. CP24's Steve Ryan reports.
Toronto police tell us that a man and a woman, both in their 40s, were traveling on this eastbound streetcar on College near Bathurst at 8:20 this morning. They were both stabbed by a suspect in his 30s. Now, that suspect has been taken into custody, and both the man and the woman were transported to hospital, where they remain in non-life-threatening condition. The scene has been held here for quite some time while police continue to process their investigation. And on the south side of College Street near Bathurst, you can see that near evidence marker number 4, there is a knife. That is believed to be the weapon that was used when both people were stabbed. There is no word yet as to what the association is between all 3 people, nor do we know what the motive is. We are expecting an update from the Toronto Police where we'll get that information. Until such time, this intersection remains closed while the forensic officers at this location collect their forensic evidence. We are told that there is no threat to public safety. I'll send it back to you.
Steve Ryan reporting. One person is in hospital, another in custody following a stabbing in North York. This happened shortly after 8:30 a.m. in the area of Wilson Avenue and Ancaster Road. Police say the victim was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A suspect was also arrested at the scene. Police have not provided any details about either the victim or the suspect or the circumstances leading to this stabbing.
Police are asking for the public's help identifying a vehicle that may be linked to the shooting that killed an 8-year-old boy at a North York apartment last weekend. Police released images yesterday of this vehicle, believed to be a white Acura. Investigators have not said how they believe the car was involved or where and when it was last seen. 8-year-old Jave Roy was in bed with his mother on August 16th when shots were fired. The bullets went toward their building on Martha Eaton Way near Black Creek Drive and Terthui Drive. The boy was struck by a stray bullet and rushed to hospital, where he later died. Police are asking anyone with further information about the vehicle's whereabouts to come forward.
A pedestrian was taken to hospital after being struck by a vehicle downtown last night. This crash happened at Yonge and Adelaide shortly after 11 p.m. yesterday. Police say the victim, a woman, was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Reports from the scene indicate the pedestrian was struck while stepping off a streetcar. However, police have not confirmed that. Meanwhile, a cyclist was taken to hospital after being struck by a vehicle in the area of Avenue Road and DuPont last night. It happened shortly before 10:30. The cyclist was taken to hospital with serious injuries. The driver involved remained at the scene. A summit on youth homelessness was held at City Hall this morning.
The event was hosted by the Toronto Youth Cabinet alongside other local groups. CTV's Beth Macdonell has been following this story and joins us live with more. Beth.
Nathan, this summer, the city's street needs assessment report found around 1,500 youth experience homelessness on any given night in Toronto, and that group now makes up 10% of the city's shelter population. Today at the Youth Homelessness Summit here at City Hall, more than 100 youth are coming together, many with lived experience alongside the Toronto Youth Cabinet and various organizations. They're calling for a youth-specific strategy to respond to homelessness and prevent it. First off, in the council chamber, there is a panel discussion on solutions to break the cycle of homelessness, and this afternoon there are breakout sessions focusing on recommendations.
You face other sort of challenges along the way, and I think that's what this summit is doing a really good job of highlighting, that it's not just about being homeless, it's about what happens immediately in the days afterwards, in the weeks, months, years afterwards. How do you build community? How do you find a job? How do you build a career that lasts?
Something the city could do immediately is a shelter model particularly focused on the needs of youth. Integrating into intake, diversion, and the family and natural supports that a young person needs. So really what that is in plain language, it's about having conversations with young people immediately to go, hey, do you have some other options, right? Because coming into the shelter system is not generally a good thing, right? So what can we help you with? Do you have family? Do you have extended family? Is there some family counseling or mediation we can do? Do you need some support for rent, first and last? These types of things.
Advocates say making innovative changes now is very important, and they can make a real difference. That's because they say about 1/3 of adults experiencing chronic homelessness first experienced it as a youth. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Beth Macdonell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Toronto police are kicking off a safety campaign focused on micromobility vehicles. The vehicles include electric scooters, mopeds, e-bikes, and regular bicycles. Police say the initiative will include education, as well as enforcement of the Highway Traffic Act and city bylaws. The campaign is being conducted in response to a city council recommendation and will concentrate on areas like bike lanes, sidewalks, and crosswalks.
We've had a lot of feedback that's come to us both through our divisions and through traffic services that speaks to just the lack of education that people have about what's right, what can I ride, where can I ride it, what's safe and what's not safe. So today's initiative really is about education and enforcement. And we hope to go citywide with this for the next 3 weeks till September the 13th. And we hope to also have an impact on traffic congestion in the city. So it does carry a lot of layers with it.
And police say fines for breaking the rules can range from $110 to $350. The campaign is set to wrap up on September 13th.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Prime Minister Mark Carney visits Poland as he continues his European tour. We'll have more on the PM's trip overseas a little later in the newscast. But first, an 18-year-old charged in a deadly head-on collision last month was denied bail this morning.
The family of the man killed in the crash have been pushing for tougher, dangerous driving penalties. CTV's Jon Woodward has been following this story and joins us now with more details. Jon.
The Justice of the Peace's ruling means that the accused will be in jail pending trial on charges of dangerous driving, with no chance he'll get back behind the wheel, something the family of Andrew Cristillo wishes had been the case after the first crash.
Today, justice took one step in the right direction.
Jordan Cristillo reacting in the wake of a decision that keeps the man alleged to have killed his brother Andrew behind bars for now.
This doesn't bring my brother back.
That man, 18-year-old Jaywin Kirubananthan. He was charged with stunt driving under the Highway Traffic Act, as well as dangerous driving after a crash with the vehicle carrying Ontario's Premier Doug Ford in January. He faced a 30-day mandatory driving prohibition then, but was back behind the wheel earlier in August. He's accused of dangerous driving, causing death, and fleeing the scene in a head-on collision on Highway 48 that killed Andrew Cristillo and seriously injured his 3 daughters. Kirubananthan held his head in his hands as as Justice of the Peace Karen Valentine said she would deny his bail. Is there anything you'd like to tell the public? Kirubananthan's family attending court didn't say much to us.
Well, essentially, he's detained in custody until his trial or until a review is brought before Superior Court to see if he can be released.
Is that something you're considering?
Yes.
An online fundraiser for the girls has raised more than $500,000, and a petition for Andrew's Law has gathered more than 10,000 signatures. The idea behind Andrew's Law, anyone charged with dangerous driving would face higher restrictions pending trial.
That's why we need Andrew's Law, to prevent dangerous drivers from getting back behind the wheel and preventing these tragedies to other families like yours.
The maximum penalty for dangerous driving causing death is life in prison. Now, you heard Kirubananthan's lawyer say he does plan to appeal this decision. Unfortunately, thanks to a pretrial publication ban, we can't tell you about his arguments or the reasons given by Justice of the Peace Karen Valentine. We can't tell you the family says that the girls have had 2 birthdays since the crash. Bittersweet, obviously, without their dad, and their mom is still facing late-stage breast cancer that she is struggling through without her husband. Reporting live from Oshawa, I'm Jon Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. And a note for subway riders, there are some early closures on a stretch of Line 1 to be aware of this week. Starting at 11:59 each night, beginning Tuesday, trains will stop running between Shepherd West and St. Clair West stations. The closure will be in place through Friday. Shuttle buses will be running until the end of service overnight. The TTC says regular subway service will resume around 6 each morning. And a reminder for GO Transit riders, service on summer GO bus lines to attractions like Canada's Wonderland and the Toronto Zoo has ended. Seasonal bus service to post-secondary campuses is set to return Saturday. Metrolinx will also slightly shift departure times across its network heading into September in order to better reflect actual travel times.
A shift in service, but it is still very much summer as we take a live look at the city this afternoon, although you will probably note if you step outside, definitely a cool start to the week. And while not raining right now, there is the potential for showers today. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with all the specifics as you enjoy your day. Lindsay.
Yes, Michelle, another chilly start to the week. Once again, we have to prepare ourselves for this week, feeling a little bit different than most weeks have this summer. We'll get to that. Here's a look at the current satellite and radar. Yes, dry downtown Toronto for the time being. We've got wet weather impacting areas like Barrie, Alliston, over toward Uxbridge, pushing into the west end of the GTA as well. These are scattered showers, a couple of thunderstorms earlier today as well, and we'll be dealing with that through the afternoon and early part of the evening. Winds coming out of the west today, and they're pretty gusty, upwards of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour gusts, keeping us a little bit cool. It is still 19 degrees this hour here in Toronto. It's only 15 in Owen Sound. Here's your today at a glance. We hope that we will make it to a daytime high of about 22 degrees, but even that is below seasonal, and we can expect to be below seasonal much of this week. So we'll take you through the 7-day forecast coming up, which includes the beginning of the long weekend. Those details are ahead. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. An evacuation in western Nova Scotia has been expanded as a wildfire continues to burn in West Dalhousie. The Long Lake wildfire started burning August 13th. It's now grown to about 32 square kilometers. The Nova Scotia Department of Emergency Management is now asking people living along a portion of Highway 10 in the West Dalhousie area to leave their homes. There are 4 active wildfires in the province. The Long Lake fire is the only one that's out of control.
Prime Minister Mark Carney visited Poland today as he continues his European tour. The PM is striking a new strategic partnership that will see Canada expand its ties in trade, defense and energy with Poland, currently Europe's fastest growing economy. Carney met with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The leaders say they have agreed to work more closely on defense, aviation, cybersecurity, and clean energy. Canada will also be the lead country at the 2026 International Defense Industry Exhibition in Poland. This morning, Carney spoke about the relationship between the two countries.
Canada and Poland come together. That's the history. If we go back decades, fighting side by side in Dieppe and at Normandy, Canada being the first country to ratify Poland's membership of NATO, standing together. Our troops stand together in Latvia at present. And as the Prime Minister alluded to a moment ago, Poland is absolutely essential to the defense of Ukraine.
CTV's Abigail Beeman is traveling with the Prime Minister and has more on today's meeting from Warsaw.
Here at the Polish Chancellery, Prime Minister Mark Carney met Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Last year in this very spot, Tusk and then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau signed an agreement. Today, Carney and Tusk are recommitting to it through a new lens, focusing on trade, defense and energy, as Canada looks to create deeper ties with Europe in the face of a trade war with the United States. Carney highlighted his history working with Tusk years ago when Tusk was president of the European Council and Carney governor of the Bank of England. Carney also visited Canadian troops while in Warsaw. These soldiers are part of Operation Unifier, helping train Ukrainian forces. Canada has helped train 45,000 so far. Carney and his defense minister talked about the government's plan to spend much more on defense going forward. And with that three-pronged focus here in Poland on trade, defense and energy, the Prime Minister also had a roundtable with Polish business leaders from the energy industry on his agenda. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Warsaw.
Relief from the cost of counter tariffs is on the way for some sectors next month, but certain levies will remain in place.
Those include tariffs on steel and aluminum, which have been taking a toll on a number of businesses. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has the details.
At this Ottawa craft brewery, there is no relief in sight yet from the tariffs imposed on a key component of their business.
There's a direct hit on the cost of our cans, and we sell a lot of cans, in-house, to restaurants and to different retail spots.
The cost up 8 to 10 cents per can, a financial burden this business owner is carrying for now.
We're trying to be nimble. We're eating the cost of those cans right now, and then we'll take it from there.
The counter levies on U.S. steel, aluminum, and autos will remain unchanged after September 1st. And while they come with a cost for some businesses, they're a lifeline for steel producers in Canada, feeling the full effects of Donald Trump's trade war.
Right now, more than 55% of our export have melted.
The Canadian Steel Producers Association says it would like to see countermeasures increased.
We would be able to recapture those shares that are now currently held by American producers in our own market.
But back at this brewery, while here the counter tariffs are costing, it's the intangible impact of the uncertainty that's hardest to deal with.
The upfront cost is easy to measure, but the uncertainty part, we know it's there. How big of impact it is, we're not sure. So again, we're trying to do what we can to make the best of it.
And that uncertainty, for now at least, remains. Prime Minister Mark Carney says he won't rule out increasing tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum in the future. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
At least 19 people have been killed in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Gaza. 4 journalists are among the dead. They worked for the Associated Press, Reuters, and Al Jazeera. The Israeli military confirms it carried out a strike near Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis and that it regrets harm caused to uninvolved individuals. Israel maintains it does not target journalists and it tries to mitigate harm as much as possible.
U.S. President Donald Trump will host the leader of South Korea at the White House today. Trump took aim at recent instability in the country in a social media post ahead of the meeting, saying the U.S. can't do business there if issues continue. South Korea recently secured a trade deal with the U.S., which saw 15% tariffs on imports from key suppliers of cars, smartphones, and machinery. The two leaders are expected to discuss trade and security during today's meeting.
A historian in Saskatchewan has been working hard to reconnect war medals with the family members of veterans.
Now, his latest search took him all the way across the pond. CTV's Allison Bamford reports.
So we have the France-Germany Star, we have the Atlantic Star, we have the Africa Star, we have the Service Medal, and then the 1939 War Medal. So this was what's called a full set.
A full set of Second World War medals and a couple black and white photos tell the story of a man in uniform.
The uniform he was wearing showed he was an officer, so that gave, he must have been in service quite some time. The medals tell the story of where he served and what he did while he was serving.
His name, George Mann, a British sailor in the Royal Navy. John Brady MacDonald came across the veteran's belongings in an Edmonton medal collection.
I reached out and managed to get them into my care and began the search of trying to track down his family.
The search spanned 4 months, garnering hundreds of tips, eventually leading to a connection all the way in Liverpool, England.
When they do and the pieces of the puzzle start fitting together, it feels like mission accomplished.
We were all delighted and a little bit shocked, really.
Jane Craig never met her great uncle, only hearing bits and pieces from her mother.
I knew of him and obviously knew that he was in the war, but that's all that I really knew.
Man came from a big family with 4 brothers and 5 sisters. He immigrated to New Brunswick after the war, marrying Alice Margaret Silver in 1948. Pieces of a story Craig wants to complete.
We'll definitely be able to now delve a little bit deeper into it.
The medals and photographs are now on their way to England. When they arrive, this will be the 11th set of war medals that Macdonald's returned. He's still searching to find the homes of another 3 sets.
Let's ensure that what they witnessed is never forgotten again.
And Macdonald's actions aren't likely to be forgotten either. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Well, overall, I think it was a pretty good weekend weather-wise, although I have a feeling last night a few thousand Oasis fans got a little more soaked than they were anticipating at that big concert. There is another one tonight, and it looks as though the weather should be a bit drier, although we do still have the chance of showers out there. So maybe consider a poncho and perhaps a sweater. It could be a little cool this evening. For many kids, this is the last week of summer vacation. Here's your camp forecast for Tuesday. And once again, a bit of a cool start to the day tomorrow. Consider long pants or perhaps a hoodie before you head out the door. You might be able to lose it later in the afternoon. You should be able to a little later this week. We'll show you when temperatures will warm up slightly on the other side of this break. You're watching CTV News at noon. Great shot there. We'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Over the last nearly 50 years, a Canadian photographer has been capturing the magic of the Midway at the Canadian National Exhibition. And now a new photo exhibit at the X called CNE in Color. The Withrow Common Gallery is putting it all on display, and that is where we find CTV's Jessica Smith this afternoon with more. Jess.
Michelle, everyone has kind of that Midway memory, right? You walk through the CNE, whether it's the swings or the Ferris wheel, and there's rides we have photos of here that I didn't even know existed. We're joined by the man himself who took these photos, Scooter Cork. Now, talk to me about 49 years. That's a really big deal. What was it like putting all this together and kind of going through all those memories, again and again?
It was great. I got to go back in time, really, all the way back to the 1980s. I had some photos from. And it took me forever to come up with a collection of ones that I thought that might actually be suitable for people to come take a look at. So not only was it fun putting it together, it was kind of a trip down memory lane for me.
It's pretty neat. And there are so many people that have come through the exhibit, young and young at heart, that say, oh, I remember that ride, or that's my favorite ride, and that's my favorite ride too. I know it's hard to pick one, but do you have a favorite one so far?
Well, I do. The Wave Swinger. We bought that in 1979. And it's always been one of my favorite rides. Kind of gives me the idea of one of those flying dreams, and it's a fun ride. It's exciting. It's great on a hot day. It kind of cools you down a little bit. Nothing wrong with the Wave Swinger.
And it's so cool to be able to see all these different moments kind of frozen and captured in time. What's the reaction been so far from people coming through? Because I feel like, again, we're watching folks come in right now and taking their time going, oh, yeah, I remember that one. I remember that one.
Well, the CNE has been such a big part of, the Toronto lifestyle for 143 years. And, everybody sort of has a memory of the Canadian National Exhibition coming down here with their family or with their friends or with their future husband or wife. And, there's some memories here that, that are enduring. And people, that kind of brings back those memories of those fun days here at the CNE that happened long ago or even today.
And you see people coming through taking now digital kind of renditions of these photos. If you could give someone advice for taking pictures at the CNE, what would it be?
The trick is, well, actually, the best part is the greatest part about my job is I walk out my door and I have an opportunity for 1,000 photographs. So there's so many great photographs, especially at night. The Midway comes alive. So just come down with your iPhone or with your camera and start shooting away. I guarantee you're going to come up with something great.
Maybe one day have an exhibit here just like you. Well, the exhibit here is in place through to September 1st, the end of the CNE. We're going to go take a look through some of these photos. We're going to send things back inside.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
That was my favorite.
Ooh, gorgeous.
All right, so if you're heading to the X today, maybe track pants, a jacket is a little bit cooler than maybe what you might hope.
It's a little fresh, but I don't know. I don't mind it, especially if you dress for it, you know. And then, I don't know, does the sun have a lot of an impact?
Well, today's interesting because we're going to see an increase in cloud cover, maybe a few showers as well. So any extended daytime heating, not likely to happen today. But if we did get some sun, that would help. We're seeing some right now in parts of the GTA, so enjoy that while we have it. We're a little unsettled. We are a little cool through a good portion of this week, with a few exceptions, though. And so far, your long weekend looks not bad. Let's get to it. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. This morning, a view of our beautiful city showed a mix of sun and cloud after some wet weather last night and overnight at times. This was a pretty nice way to start the day, but you cannot let sunshine fool you on a day like this. I know for me, I'm still in summer mode. I left my house without a sweater, a jacket, and I felt it pretty instantly that we are heading into that sweater weather point in the summer. Let me show you our upper air pattern because this helps give us clues as to the patterns we can expect going forward. And for us, you may notice that we have this deep trough. This gives us an idea of the positioning of the jet stream, and it's essentially locked in place for the next couple of days. So that's going to keep us cool. It's also going to keep us unsettled, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Going to take until about the weekend for us to see temperatures rebound closer to where we expect them to be for this time of year. And as you can see, we've also got this upper level low that's spinning, and that's what's bringing us a few showers and a few lake effect showers at that. Pop-ups are possible as we continue through the afternoon, but you can see just how scattered these showers are over a widespread area. So maybe don't leave the house without an umbrella today. You might need it as we continue through the afternoon and then early part of the evening. Drier overall for the most part as we make our way through this evening. But tomorrow, very similar, a bit of a repeat in terms of the conditions. It's going to be cool. It's going to be windy. Tomorrow we're dealing with less of a west wind and more of a northwest wind, so that will keep us cool. And yes, that chance of showers is going to be there. It's into Wednesday, though, that we see some clearing and a return to some sunshine. All right, let's talk temperatures. And you know where it's pretty chilly today? Look at Timmins, Ontario. 10 degrees. It's 12 in Moosonee. Only 13 in Sudbury right now. 15 in Wyerton. 18 degrees this hour in Muskoka. We're hoping to make it to an afternoon high of about 22 in Toronto. But I want to remind you of the fact that our seasonal norm is about 24 degrees. Yesterday, we were just shy of 26. So it wasn't too bad out there. But tonight, many communities once again dipping into single-digit low territory. We'll drop to about 12 for the overnight low tonight. Tomorrow, as mentioned, a bit of a repeat. And you'll also notice here as we take a quick little look across southern Ontario that we've got that chance of showers, cooler than normal temperatures, breezy northwest wind, starting to feel a little bit like early fall. Here is the 7-day forecast. Wednesday looks beautiful with all that sunshine, but watch for some periods of rain, especially late day Thursday and into Friday. There's the early look at Saturday and Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, and temperatures back into the low to mid-20s. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Oasis will be back on stage in the city tonight after the band kicked off the North American leg of its reunion tour at Rogers Stadium last night. The band, fronted by brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher, performed in front of an estimated 50,000 fans last night. It was their first show in Toronto since 2008. A rainstorm during the concert didn't appear to have an impact.
It was so great.
What made it so great?
Well, I mean, there are just so many people who are in the same vibe, enjoying the music. It was so great.
It was amazing. Cage the Elephant, #1. Awesome. Oasis was good too, but Cage the Elephant stole the show.
And what do you think about Oasis?
Absolutely great. Really fun.
It was worth the rain, 100%. What a show.
Amazing show.
The last time we saw these guys was probably 1997, so almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Worth the wait.
Worth the wait.
Oasis.
Meanwhile, fans are continuing to visit the band's pop-up store located at Queen and Augusta. It'll be open until Wednesday.
You know, who also has a lot of fans are Blue Jays, and they'll be looking to get back in the win column when they begin a series with the Minnesota Twins tonight.
Driven deep, center field. Marcy back. That's 15 home runs.
The Jays were looking to sweep a 3-game series with the Miami Marlins yesterday afternoon. However, the Marlins had the last laugh, winning the game 5-3. The Jays will now host the Twins at Rogers Center. First pitch tonight is set for just after 7 p.m.
Still to come, a new study suggests managers sending out AI email can have a major impact on how their workers view them. We've got details when we come back.
Some people really believe they're better at certain tasks than they really are. Now scientists have new insight into how deep that belief runs.
And here to talk about it is CTV's science and tech specialist, Dan Riskin. Dan, you seem confident. Should we be worried?
Yeah. This is a funny story because it's about thinking you're better than you are at things. And of course, like my brain just started up. It's like, maybe you're one of those people, Dan, thinking you're so good at finding news stories. And I was like, it's that gentle sort of balance between those who can and those who think they can, and they don't always line up, right? And this is a nice study where often when they're looking at people's overconfidence, they have to do it in the lab, but they found a natural setting where they can actually know unambiguously how good people are at something and then ask them how good they think they are, and that's chess. Because when you play chess, and you play a lot of it, you get a rating that says exactly how you're ranked. And so what they did is they found about 3,000 people from 22 different countries who play chess, and they said, okay, how good are you according to the official rating? And then people would report it, and you can look that up. And they checked to make sure people really understood how they are rated and what their actual rating is. And then they said, but how good do you think you actually are? And most people think they're better than they know they actually are. They have the number, but they have this overconfidence. And on average, people think they're, you know, if they played somebody who is exactly their ability, they think they win 2 out of 3 times, even though they really should win half the time.
Is this helpful?
Well, it's interesting because the real take home from this is that it's the people at the bottom of the rung that have the most overconfidence. And the people that are really good at it tend to have a better sense of exactly where they sit. They're more liable to believe their ratings. So it sort of fits with that thing where you've got that friend who's like, oh no, I'm super good at this, but they're actually the person you don't want handling the machinery or driving or whatever the task is.
Oh, this rings true. I don't want to throw my husband under the bus, but he thinks he's so good at doing dishes. And then I'll go look, and there's all these pots he hasn't tackled. I'm like, you didn't even do them. But he thinks he's good.
I don't want to ruin his trick, but men know this trick. You do it badly on purpose, and then you pretend you're doing your best.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's a trick we use.
Okay, well, I have scientific backup here. Thank you. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the workplace. Specifically, there's a new study that looked at how people respond to emails that they get from their bosses when their bosses use AI to write those emails. What did they discover there?
What they found is that if a boss is writing an email to an employee and they want to say some nice things to them and make the employee feel good, AI can help. It can make the email a little bit better. But if you go overboard and you use so much AI that the employee can tell you used AI, it absolutely pulls the rug out from under you as a boss. And the employee, all of a sudden, the amount that they think you're being sincere plummets. It drops to about half. The amount they think that you actually care about them drops to about half. And by all these different metrics, it just ruins the communication in a way that makes it not worth doing. And so this is a study about bosses sending emails to employees, but I think this is true for all of us. You've seen those posts on LinkedIn or you've gotten those emails or whatever where you can tell AI wrote this, and you just sort of roll your eyes and know that this wasn't done for you. But in communications with other people, when you're sending an email to somebody or when you're writing a letter to somebody, it's just really important to make sure you're actually the one writing it. And if you use a little bit of AI to help you finesse it or to brainstorm topics or whatever, just make sure that doesn't show in the email because it's going to absolutely destroy your credibility.
Good to know. All right, so finally, we all know how much you love bats, and you've got rare footage of what you call a white whale. What makes it so special?
It's my white whale. It's my white whale bat. This is a bat I've wanted to see my whole life. I've never seen one. I once sat in the back of a car for 2 hours to drive all the way across Trinidad to look in a tree. And these bats were not in there. It's like, it's my bat. But a new paper has come out with some video of how these bats behave. They're huge. They're called Vampirum Spectrum. They have about a 1-meter wingspan. They live in the New World tropics. And there's some footage of them snuggling. So you're looking up a tree, and the one that's closer to the camera at the top of the screen has caught a mouse that it's eating. These things are so big they eat mice.
I hope no one's having lunch.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. But anyway, what's really cool is that the pup of that mom or dad, we can't tell which, is coming over and saying, hey, can I have that? And you're going to see the parent actually give that food to its offspring so that it can eat it. And so these behaviors, which you would expect for, like, you know, lions or something like that, have never been documented for this species before. And so we're getting some insight. It's a super rare bat, super big bat, and I'm just excited. And the best part is they have footage of these bats cuddling. Whenever a new bat comes home to the roost, the parents, they all get together and they have like a community hug. I love it. It's just so cute.
They're not so bad after all.
They're just like us.
They're just like us.
Similar.
Without the rats. Dan, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care. Well, to other news, yesterday marked move-in day for thousands of post-secondary students across the country.
However, this year saw a significant drop in the number of international students because of that government-imposed cap on study permits. CTV's Kamala Karamali reports.
Boxes, crates, and suitcases stuffed with anything.
This is all my stuff.
And everything.
Some pillows, some bedding, fridge over there.
It's move-in day for these first-year post-secondary students, and there's change everywhere, including in the number of international students on campus.
It is kind of sad. A lot of international students dream of studying abroad.
Here at Toronto Metropolitan University, among all first-year students, there's been a noticeable drop of international students, roughly 1,100 first-year students in total this year. More than 80% of those are from across Canada, with 17% from abroad, most of them from the United States.
We've seen it a little bit higher. We've seen more like 20-25% the last few years. So it's a bit of a dip from that.
Ram Kanakamadala, a fourth-year student from India, seeing more foreign students graduating than they are coming in.
I have a sister. She might be wanting to study abroad, and caps like this are affecting her.
Early last year, the federal government announced a 2-year cap on international study permits approved, reducing it by roughly 35% for 2024 and by another 10% for this year, citing strains on the housing and healthcare system. Those keeping track of the numbers say there's far fewer permits than that being approved.
So there was a small decrease in 2024 and then another 60% decrease in the number of new students approved to attend Canadian universities in the first quarter of this year.
Housing reports have showed a reduced demand for rental properties, resulting in a drop in prices. Ottawa has pointed to that as proof the cap is working. But others say Canada is losing out on a robust future workforce.
They, in fact, help pay for more spots for Canadian-born students to attend university because international students pay higher tuition fees.
Back on campus, those gaps left behind by fewer international students.
For us in residence, we're seeing more GTA students than we've seen before.
Now filled by local ones. Kamala Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
Still to come, negotiations between Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers are set to resume today. We'll have the latest on the talks when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Negotiations between Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers are set to resume today. Talks were supposed to resume on Friday, but were delayed after Canada Post wanted more time to review the latest offers put forward by the union. Workers had rejected what Canada Post described as its final offer last month. The Crown Corporation says it is committed to the collective bargaining process and reaching an agreement. Bargaining has been ongoing for more than a year and a half.
Usually a film goes from theaters to a streaming service, but Netflix has done the opposite with its latest hit.
K-pop Demon Hunters recently topped the box office thanks to a built-in audience and a very popular soundtrack. CTV's Andrew Cristillo has the details.
It's time. The world will know you as pop stars.
No kidding. The hottest movie on the small screen is now the hottest movie on the big screen.
But you will be much more than that.
K-pop Demon Hunters took the top spot at the box office, giving Netflix its first ever #1 film in theaters.
The bigger screen, more action. Everything was good about it.
What's your favorite part?
It was all really good.
Released on the streaming service on June 20th, the crowd pleaser tells the story of 3 young women, K-pop stars in a group called Huntrix. And oh, secretly, they are demon hunters.
They're stealing the souls of our fans?
I really like the song Golden, but it scared me a little.
How come?
It's because, like, the demon stuff.
In theaters, K-pop Demon Hunters was a communal affair, turning the musical into a collective sing-along. At a screening at Netflix's own Tadam Theater last week in Los Angeles, some in the crowd could not contain their excitement. And in Toronto,
This just revived back a childhood love of like animation with good soundtrack that you can sing along like and loop it over and over and over again.
But now that I've seen it, I'm definitely just going to put this on blast when I go back home.
In North America, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, K-pop Demon Hunters was only released in theaters for 1 weekend. Music is one of the reasons the film has been so popular. The song Golden topped the Billboard charts last week. 2 other songs are in the top 10.
My favorite part of the movie is the songs. I've listened to them a lot to the point of annoying my family.
I sang along. I did some random harmony on it.
The film was created and co-directed by Canadian Maggie Kang, a graduate of Sheridan College, and 2 of the songs were co-written by Calgary's Jenna Andrews. There are rumors of a 2nd and 3rd film, and could a live-action stage show be far behind?
I've seen it like 30 times, honestly.
Why do you keep coming back for more?
Because I love the songs so much, and the animation, and the storyline in general. I love all of it.
While the film has left theaters, if fans don't already know all the lyrics, Netflix is now streaming a sing-along version. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Coming up on CTV News, a Montreal artist has turned a chronic condition into inspiration for her work. We'll have more on the paintings when we return. It's often said that people suffer for their art, and that's especially true for one Montreal artist.
She's battling a rare bone disease, but has turned her chronic pain into inspiration for her latest work. CTV's Christine Long has her story.
Sandra Woods' watercolor pigments sparkle with flecks of amethyst and garnet.
You should be able to see some shimmer around here, this area.
While she works, she wears a dynamic splint on her right hand. It's a necessity.
I was struck with a rare disease that causes pretty severe chronic pain, potentially bone and joint issues, which is why I wear this several hours a day to prevent the bones from melting.
Painting through the pain, Woods uses the splint to her advantage.
So I'm holding the paintbrush with my thumb. And if I'm using a larger brush, sometimes I'll stick the brush under here and paint like an extension of my hand if I'm using an easel.
She's won awards for her work that reflects her personal experiences.
People with chronic pain will often talk about experiencing a wave of pain or a flare of pain. So this series focuses on waves and volcanoes, so kind of eruptions of pain or flares of pain.
Woods founded the West Island Art Studio Circuit, including 11 artists who all have talent and a story to share. For the month of September, selections of their work will be on display at Studio 77 in Point Claire Village.
As a disabled artist, because of my cognitive impairment, I wanted to prove to myself, but also to other people who might be having cognitive issues or disabilities, that we can still do things and we can still be involved and we can still be leaders in our communities.
Studio 77 has always been an open hub for artists and their admirers, says owner David Epstein.
All the artists picked up on it and they bring their friends, and it became a place where the artistic community basically gets together.
The collection runs all next month with the vernissage on September 21st. Christine Long, CTV News.
All right, beautiful story.
Beautiful work. Okay, we are into the last week of summer vacation for the kids, holidays for the adults, and the weather could be warmer, but it's not all bad.
It could be a little better. I think most people would agree. Maybe a little warmer, maybe a little drier in some cases too. One more look at the satellite and radar is going to show us that it is starting to rain in parts of the GTA. Again, mainly for the West End and now communities to the north of downtown. You can expect that it's going to be a pretty unsettled afternoon. These are scattered showers. It's not widespread rain, but it's a widespread area that is being impacted. Let's skip ahead to tonight. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 12 degrees. That's a little below seasonal. And then tomorrow, a bit of a repeat of today. Mostly cloudy skies, chance of showers, 21 for the high. So we're struggling to even reach our average daytime high this time of year, which is about 24. I do see an improvement as we make our way into Wednesday. Lots of sunshine, a high of 23 degrees. That may be a good day to check out the CNE. Thursday evening and into Friday, we're going to plan for some periods of rain. It's going to be cool once again. In fact, Friday has potential to be our coolest day of the week, but then we improve once again as we make our way into the weekend. Mix of sun and cloud for both Saturday and Sunday, around 23 degrees on Saturday. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.